Hey everyone and welcome to another Warframe video. With the Demos update came the Helminth, allowing us to fuse a selection of other Warframe powers onto our Warframes. Naturally, this is going to end up with some interesting and fun combinations. So let's look at one I've been enjoying, and that is a frame that's, let's be real, kind of fitting for me, and that is my all-time favourite frame, Nyx Prime. Nyx has always had a soft spot in my heart. She was the frame that was released at the same time I started Warframe all those years ago. The first frame that I ever farmed, and ended up, along with my Bolter, being the only thing I'd play for the next 6 months. So her being the first build we Helminth works out really nicely. So what are we going to be Helminthing onto her, and what are we replacing? Well, and honestly, this is going to be a common theme with a lot of builds. We're going to be throwing on Pillage, and we're going to replace Mind Control. Mind Control's always been Nyx's weakest ability overall. Since Chaos is like a multi-target Mind Control, it's always overshadowed it. So being able to replace it with a fantastic survivability boosting ability like Pillage is brilliant. The theory behind this build is to combine the huge shield gains from Pillage with the best defense strip in the game, bar none. Fantastic CC, that means she doesn't get shot at often, and when all else fails, literal invincibility due to Assimilate. So why Pillage out of all of the available powers? Well, the thing about Pillage is that one, it has the armor strip. It's not huge because of the way we're modding. However, let's be real, it's really nice to have. Not to mention that the shield you get back resets your shield gate, giving another layer of survivability against one-shots at high level. Plus, it saves on mod space too. On a standard health tanking build, you almost always end up with health and armor, and quite often rage. None of those are needed when playing around with Pillage, allowing you to do more interesting things with the build. Since we're not tied to Steel Charge to fit Triple Umble as well, we get way more mod space available. Also, since we're not health tanking, we're not tied to a specific health stealing melee either, or, the standard Daiku Nyx Prime combo. And let's be honest, a quick cast to get rid of those pesky procs, like those gas procs those new infested do, that's not really anything to sniff at either. So that's a hell of a lot of advantages just from a single ability, but we're all pretty aware of just how good Pillage is. But why is it the best option for Nyx? Well, since we're replacing Mind Control, we have to worry, well, we don't have to worry about talking about that. So naturally, it's the other abilities we care about. Psychic Bolt, as I said earlier, is the best strip in the game, bar none. Fully strips all armor, all shields, and will even slow infested, all whilst requiring only about 140% strength to hit 100% strip. It does have a target cap, however, since you can recast, that's not that big of a deal. And since in Steel Path you can have, double armor and double shield on some enemies both at the same time, having a cheap spammable ability that can remove all of it is amazing. And this works nicely with Pillage because you can use the Pillage strip for the less scary enemies, and then Psychic Bolts for things like Bombards, Napalms, Heavy Gunners, any of the new heavily armoured infested basically. Especially since Pillage will not remove any armour from an enemy that has an active shield. It's part of the reason the Necromechs are so trivial on Nyx and harder on Hildren, because that's where Pillage doesn't perform as well. But the advantage with Nyx is when Pillage isn't performing as well, Psychic Bolts picks up the slack. Chaos though needs no introduction, making all enemies in your radius fight each other. Drawing fire away from your own frame is super powerful at high level. The best form of damage reduction is not having the enemy shooting at you whatsoever. However, since you are the closest thing, if you are the closest thing to an enemy, they will turn around and shoot you. Having this huge shield buffer from Pillage, which easily recastable too, as well as an easy way to reset your shield gate, you're able to live through high level enemies turning their weapons on you with ease. Especially since you also have literal invincibility in Assimilate. Used as an emergency button when things go wrong, this can get you out of a hole pretty easily. However, this isn't something that gets used to so often because you don't get hit that often at high level where, Pillage isn't going to just absorb your hit. The main reason this is on here is actually for Necromech farming, because it negates the damage and reflectability that they do. It means you can go into the vault, hit Psychic Bolts to strip the shield and the armor, drop into Assimilate, and 1 or 2 shot the Necromech with ease. It's the safest kill on those things by far right now, and by far one of the quickest. No team comp needed here, no chroma damage buffing, just psychic bolts and a Stropher. So that's the theory behind the build. Mod wise, it's a very different one to a lot of builds we've done recently. Got no hit points, no armor, and that is awesome because we're going to have room for some nice quality of life. Growing Power and Umbral Intensify is going to buff our power strength to buff the strip from Pillage. Umbral Intensify on its own actually brings Psychic Bolts up to 100% strip, so the Growing Power is purely for that extra Pillage strip. Max Efficiency, stretch for a bit of range for Chaos. Prime Continuity is going to counter Fleeting to not mess up our Chaos too much. Adaptation is our only survivability mod. I found that you do often still get hit enough to keep Adaptation stacked. However, this is one you could possibly change for something else if you feel confident on your Chaos and your positioning. Assimilate is going to be for our Necromech farming and the emergency button. Natural Talent because Chaos is quite a long animation, and since we're casting Pillage a lot, Natural Talent is really nice as a bit of quality of life there. And then Prime Sure-Footed, never to get knocked down. Nyx, she's a frame that I go back to time and time again, and honestly, the Helminth system has breathed new life into her. A full kit of abilities I want to use, that when they come together you can see in the footage can deal with the hardest of content and be absolutely fine. By no means is it a kit where you can switch off and let the game play itself. You do need to be constantly aware of your surroundings, be good at identifying high threat tanky enemies, keeping your Pillage and your Chaos up at all times, dropping into Assimilate if you need it. It's a high risk frame, however the results speak for themselves. It really has brought Nyx back from the brink of being forgotten again. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the first of the Helminth build for frames. I do have some other fun frames to do, ones that drastically change their playstyle, not just throwing Warcry on and call it a new build. These frames are going to be like I normally post, synergistic, powerful, and hopefully fun at the same time. Sorry for the gap in content, things have been crazy, my PC isn't playing nice when it comes to recording or streaming. However, I hope to change that on Thursday, so next week, with a bit of luck, I'll be back with the regular content. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful night, and I shall catch you in the next video.